Top alarming signs you may have lupus. Have you ever felt a headache, felt fatigued, had a bit of fever, or experienced hair fall? Granted, we all have experienced at least one of these things in our lives, so maybe it doesn't alarm you when you go through these things. But if you experience all of these at the same time, and some other things that make no sense, your body might be warning you about lupus. Lupus can be of 4 types: systemic lupus erythematosus, or SLE, cutaneous lupus erythematosus, or CLE, neonatal lupus, and drug-induced lupus. However, SLE is the most common type of lupus, and overall, lupus affects more than 1 million people in America. Is there a need to be worried? Maybe. You see, our bodies are protected from several diseases by our trusty old immune system. But what can happen when our protector betrays us? Pure chaos. That is exactly what happens in lupus. The immune system in our body starts to attack our cells, and this causes inflammation and, after that, considerable damage to the body's tissues. The worst part is it isn't specific because any tissue in the body can be under attack. Skin, muscles, joints, kidneys, lungs, heart, and even the brain isn't safe. Because of this wide range of target sites, the signs of lupus can also vary a lot. And sometimes they are so random that it's hard to tell if you're getting a normal headache or if it is a lupus flare. Only a professional doctor can properly diagnose you, but that doesn't mean you're helpless because you can also be on the lookout for some alarming signs of lupus. In this video, we're going to highlight a few warning signs that your body might be displaying for you to alarm you about a lupus flare, and that might get ignored because they are so random and could mean anything. So let's start. Number 12. A butterfly-shaped rash. Also known as Muller rash, a butterfly-shaped rash across the nose and cheeks is perhaps the most common sign that someone might have lupus. As obvious from the name, this rash appears in the shape of a butterfly and, unfortunately, is not the only rash that lupus patients face. Lupus rashes may appear in other parts of the body as well, since they are one of the common symptoms of lupus. Number 11. Pain in muscles or joints. If you experience some kind of pain or a feeling of stiffness in your joints or muscles, this may indicate the presence of lupus. If it causes your joints to swell up, you might get what the doctors refer to as inflammatory arthritis. The joints aren't the only target sites of lupus because it can also cause muscle pain. Since both muscles and joints work together to help our bodies move, lupus may restrict movement for some people. Number 10. A fever. Fever is one of the most commonly reported signs of lupus. So much so that it was reported in a research paper that around 36 to 86% of people with lupus showed signs of fever. It usually occurs in the early stages of the disease as a sign of warning from your body, asking you to pay attention to it because something is wrong. Number 9. Pain in your chest. Usually, chest pain is associated with a heart attack, so people would usually assume that their hearts are safe if they have lupus, but that's not true. Lupus may cause the lining of the sac that surrounds the heart to swell up, and that can cause sharp pain in that area. It can also make the lining surrounding your lungs swell up, and as a result, people may have trouble breathing normally. Number 8. Being sensitive to sunlight. Have you ever heard of someone having a sun allergy? And no, we're not talking about vampires. Believe it or not, some people get reactions when their bodies are exposed to sunlight, and people with lupus experience a somewhat similar thing. We already know that the body's immune system is compromised in lupus, so being sensitive to sunlight doesn't seem too appalling. We all know that the sun's UV rays are pretty harmful to our cells. For lupus patients, this situation is worse. When the UV rays damage the cells of lupus patients, they aren't removed very quickly by the body's system. What happens as a result is the immune system recognizes these as a target, thus starting the attack. This is why in many people with lupus, photosensitivity makes the state of the disease worse. Number 7. White or blue toes. Sometimes the blood vessels in our fingers and toes can shrink in size, which can restrict the amount of blood flowing in those body parts. This can happen when the person is under stress or just feels cold. It is called the Raynaud's phenomenon. And the secondary type of Raynaud's phenomenon is associated with an autoimmune disease such as lupus. This type of Raynaud's requires more urgent attention than the primary type. It comes in the form of episodes, and blood flow to these body parts does resume, but people usually experience some level of pain or discomfort when it happens. Number 6. You'll start to lose hair. As the immune system calls a body-wide strike against its cells, it doesn't spare the hair scalp either. People with lupus gradually start to lose their hair. Their hair becomes thin and breaks easily. It's not just limited to your scalp because sometimes people lose their eyebrow hair as well. Sometimes if the patient responds well to lupus treatment, they can get all their hair back. Number 5. You'll get headaches. With the level of stress we encounter in our daily lives, headaches don't seem like a problem, and they make an appearance every once in a while. You might think that your head hurts a little because you were awake late last night, scrolling through your social media feed, but not all headaches should be brushed off so quickly, especially if your body is exhibiting other signs of lupus as well. There has been considerable evidence in research that supports the fact that lupus can affect the nervous system, which can lead to headaches. Number 4. Your mouth may get ulcers. When people have lupus, their mouths get less salivary flow, which results in the development of mouth ulcers. They are so common that it is one of the defining criteria of lupus. In 2022, a systematic review of lupus was done, and it was found that oral ulcers are the most common occurrence out of all oral health-related problems for people with lupus. Number 3. You might forget things often. Remember we told you just a few moments ago that lupus has been linked to the body's nervous system and causes headaches? Well, unfortunately, we have more bad news. Some psychiatric disorders are connected to lupus. These can lead to a bad memory and even cause confusion, which is commonly called brain fog. However, for patients with lupus, this brain fog is a common occurrence, so it is also called a lupus fog. Number 2. Your eyes can be affected. Since lupus causes everything to get swollen all over the body, it also means the blood vessels that are connected to our eyes also get inflamed. As a consequence, your eyes develop a condition where they suffer from retinal vasculitis. Retinal is related to the eye, and vasculitis is a condition where blood vessels swell up. If this isn't addressed, it can worsen the bad state your eyes are already enduring. Number 1. Your legs and feet might get swollen. Our kidneys are responsible for getting rid of unnecessary fluids in our bodies. In patients with lupus, the kidneys are attacked just like any other body part, and this messes with the normal functioning of the kidneys. When the extra fluid isn't removed from the body and has nowhere else to go, it can accumulate in the lower limb area and cause swelling. Whew, that was a lot to take in. But we don't mean to scare you because there are medications available to manage symptoms of lupus. Since lupus causes almost all of the body parts to swell up and cause pain, most of the medicines associated with lupus treatment are anti-inflammatory, such as NSAIDs or steroids. Some anti-malarial drugs are also given because they help with rashes and joint pain. It requires close monitoring of these signs we've mentioned above because every person's experience is different. In this video, we have done our best to tell you about a dozen signs that could mean that you have lupus. But as we mentioned before, lupus has so many symptoms that having them could mean anything. And a simple fever might just be because of the seasonal flu. Imagine feeling tired after a stressful work week, mistaking it for lupus-related fatigue, and freaking out. Self-diagnosis is a bit scary, folks, so we'll give you the best advice possible. If you experience any of these symptoms that we have mentioned, it is better to note them down and make a list. If you experience most of them, it's time to pay a visit to your doctor and get his or her professional opinion. Only an experienced consultant should be allowed to diagnose your symptoms. But since now you're aware of the common signs of lupus, you'll be more cautious about your health and not delay any needed medical attention. That's all for now. If you liked watching our video, make sure to leave a comment, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel. See you soon!